So it's been a minute since I've listened to Rihanna, and I just listened to her because, I mean, I love Beyonce. Okay, she's an artist, she's a performer, she's incredible. She started from the bottom, now she's here. She started performing, I think, at the age of 3. But I identify with Riri, and not just because of my smutty, Polish ways, but because she's from Barbados. She's from what the orange man sat on the throne of the US would call an ish-hole country. And as you can tell, I am working on my vices. I'm trying to curse a lot less. Let's see how long that lasts. I've been cursing like a sailor today because I am so sleepy and so tired. And I know if I sleep now at, oh God, it is only 5:28 p.m. Again, I will be up all night. Like I'll sleep for like 2 hours. Then that's it. I'm screwed for the rest of the evening. It's like taking a nap in the evening because it is taking a nap in the evening. I've also noticed I like Jack Jones. Like I find myself gravitating towards Jack Jones. Anyways, this jacket has a story. This jacket has a story I'm not even ready to get into right now. Because oof, I feel like if there was YouTube for women, I would gather you girls together and tell you some things you need to know about money, sex, and power. And I learned this lesson from an older woman from church who, if you're Kenyan, I need to mention, she's Kikuyu. I'm Seventh day Adventist. Most of us are Kisi, some Luo, some Luya, but mostly Kisi. And our tribe is very patriarchal. Our tribe is the one that has the women who are taught to glorify marriage, probably from when they are eggs, I think. Like, because of just the messaging by women, about women, to women, and to themselves. This is what I mean. I started writing a book, by the way, about my internalized self hatred as a kissy woman because, well, for starters, the first time I had the phrase self hatred used, it was by a kissy woman about me. And this is why I was describing to her something. I was telling her, I make granola and I want to sell it to my clients. And I want to try some sometimes, but I don't. And she's like, eh? Okay, that's not how she used to react, but I'm being dramatic. So let me be dramatic as a storyteller. So she goes like, huh? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm not saying that there isn't enough for me to taste. It's just, I feel like this is my client's granola. Like I have separate boxes and those boxes don't touch, right? She looked at me, she's like, Sharon, you have self-hatred. I was like, Kai, Rose Misati, come slowly, please. Don't go easy on me, baby. This one slapped me with the truth. I needed to be slapped that day. She'd been very gentle, by the way. She's not one of those only tough love therapists. Ruby Miseda is softer. But you see, Rose was speaking to me, I guess, also as a kissy woman. And I was also able to tell her, I don't ascribe to that thing you just told me. I don't think men are important. I don't think relationships with men are important. I think, from my lived experience, relationships with women are more important. They take precedence, and this is why. When a woman is at her most vulnerable, when she's been sexually assaulted, more often than not, the people who will believe her and tell her this is a safe space and that she will feel physically and emotionally safe with our fellow women, not the religious ones, and not boomers, and not baby boomers. I am excluding them, all of them. This is a hasty generalization video. If you're triggered, leave. So, and it's for women, preferably minorized women. Just if you're black, especially if you're a dark black woman, this is for you. If you're in the LGBTQIA plus community, this is for you. This is from the perspective of a black woman. You're welcome here. This is a safe space. But I'm speaking mostly to black women. Straight, bi, not important. But if you are assigned female at birth, you can relate to this. Because you've still been through, even if you're a trans man, you've been through the ghetto in your upbringing. Because let's just say, we live in a world that treats women horribly. If the femicide rates in Kenya, or the rape or the assault or just the mass murder of women around this world, the UN report is saying in Palestine it's what 70% of the people killed were women and children, because we are property. We have men in America now walking around with signs saying women are property. We say my body, my choice. Men say your body, my choice, just because they can. And then when we threaten not to have sex with them, when we decide we're going to be radicalized enough to join the 4B movement, which includes no sex, no marriage, to men, then men go like, ha ha ha, it's like you have a choice. Men are actually actively on social media threatening to engage with us sexually against our will. That is rape in the year 2024. You know why? Because certain women, who shall remain unnamed here, decided to vote for the orange man in the US. And certain men, predominantly a certain color, decided we are so tired of women having rights and choosing whether or not they will have our children. We can't trap them with pregnancy anymore. The law protects them from sex trafficking and rape. We are tired. We want to go back to where women were property, right? If the reversal of Roe Wade was not that, what was it? It's a man saying a clump of cells growing in my body has more right to life than I do because I was assigned female at birth. Maybe part of it is the fact that you can't get pregnant. And because there's something that I am inherently blessed with that you can't access, you feel the need to take it away from me. I read an article on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my trigger house. I have to attend this trigger house to attend to it every so often because I'm still writing my thesis, and I'm writing my thesis very slowly because I sat on this laptop on the first night when the sun set at 4:30, and I started typing on native history. I just literally, so Google Docs has done this cool thing where you can have, like, I have my master's thesis, which is now just 20 pages of links, and it's disorganized. Then I met this friend of mine. I'll call him friend loosely. I don't have male friends. This male associate was a classmate, and he showed me what he'd done. I've not read it. I just saw the table of contents and was like, okay, good. I have an idea of what I need to do, how to organize what I already have. So I started to organize. And people don't realize I am writing my thesis even when I'm not typing it. And they're like, oh, when will you do it? I'm like, just stop asking. Stop asking. I don't need the pressure. I already have so much internal pressure. You have no idea how badly I want to finish this thing and be done with school. If you don't have ADHD, just leave me alone. And if you don't have disorganized ADHD, just leave me alone. And if you've never procrastinated because you're a type A personality who, the minute they say they're going to do something and they write down a to-do list and they're able to accomplish it, leave me alone. I am not the person to tell what to do. I don't like to be told what to do. Even my therapist knows I don't like to be told what to do, and she doesn't tell me what to do. She holds space for me. When I tell her I don't have the capacity for a session, I don't agree with what you've just said, because fundamentally your lived experience and mine are different. And if you were taught to centralize men because you came from a 2-parent home and your dad didn't screw your mom over, or he did and your mom never told you, then our lives are different. 3 generations of very strong women, and not just like laterally, like it's my mom and my grandma, her mom, and my great grandma. It's also my mom's only sister and their closest cousin. And I grew up around all of them. That cousin, that Aunt Milka, looked at me once and she's like, Sharon, I feel so bad for you sometimes because you grew up around such strong, independent women. And I would just like to look at her one of these fine days when I go to the US, if I go to the US, if it's safe, when will it ever be? And just look at her and tell her, you know what? That thing you said, not bad at all. Because you normalized for me that a woman is a whole entity on her own. You know, like when I meet women who tell me, ladies, gather here, I'm about to insult you. When you come to Sharon, who, as you have gathered from her many videos, is not just a feminist, but she's a sort of feminist who's like, but what are men for? And I'll also ask the same thing, what are women for? My women folk, they feed me, they clothe me, they give me jobs, They bring my names to boardrooms. They celebrate me on social media. And then I get new friends who do the same thing. And then they empower everyone in my community that I send their way without causing them harm to the best of their ability. By the way, I'm not saying they're perfect. I have shared this example. I had beef with a girlfriend. We haven't even like unboxed everything that happened, but she apologized and she could see I was triggered and I needed to leave the room because she knows my triggers. And she knew that if we engaged anymore, I was going to get a panic attack, because she's the first woman in Germany who, when she saw me get a panic attack and I told her, don't touch me, and I lay in fetal position on the floor, she covered me. And she kept repeating affirming words. And when we had beef, she took money, she put it in my pocket, and she said, I know you're walking out of this house. I know you're feeling what you're feeling. And she apologized for the part that she took in it. And she named it. I am sorry for A. This is where I was coming from, but that doesn't matter because this is how it made you feel. And I told her, no, it does matter, because I am able to forgive because I know where it came from. Your intention is good. It still hurt. And I love that you've acknowledged this, that I felt hurt. I also acknowledge the pain that you've gone through that has caused you to react this way to the thing I'm doing, because I am also hurting you by refusing to accept the love that you're offering me. Because this is how we talk. Are you seeing why I struggle to have relationships with people who are like, but I love him? And I'm like, and what does that fix for you? Ladies, could we please learn how to just put our feelings aside? You know, like they're feelings and they're valid. And my therapist is telling me I need to deal with my feelings. But I also think this feelings thing is a big part of the reason why we are messed up as women, right? Because we've been allowed to feel our feelings, which is good. It's why we talk about our problems. It's why we I think just parent a lot better, because we talk to our kids about feelings. And it's why we are able to bond with babies even though they annoy us in the way they scratch us and give us cracked nipples when we are nursing them, and they've ruined our bodies through pregnancy and our mental health. And they give us mommy brain, which we don't recover from for a while, for years. Like, your brain cells actually die during pregnancy. And yet you love this child who will be the reason why you don't have a full night of sleep for 2 years. God forbid they are colicky. God forbid, so if it's your first pregnancy, episiotomy. So, they actually cut you to make room for this child to come out. And their first word could be dada. Or nana. Children will betray you, and sometimes they will squeeze your belly, the biggest insecurity you have, and touch your stretch marks and go like, mommy, why are you so squishy? And if you've not dealt with your body image issues, that will trigger you to Timbuktu and back. But if you've done the work, like most of the women in my life have done, some of the women in my life have done, most of the women in my life, actually it's most, because, the friends have fallen off. Ladies, when you start doing the internal work, you will have, your capacity for BS will lower. When people give you an apology, I'm sorry if you felt this way. I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. I'm sorry if you were offended. And I'm like, what is that? You can't convince me that love in heterosexual relationships benefits women, because research is showing that the most miserable people are women who are married with children. We've known this for a while. We just didn't talk about it. And now that we live in a day and age where we are allowed by the patriarchy to have some money to do research on stuff like this, and we have women in positions of power to make decisions that allow us to have funding for these studies. And why are these men empathizing? Because they have children. Or by the way, go research it. Men learn to empathize with women when they have daughters, not when they get wives. Because in their minds, we are property. How many women have been beaten by their husbands and been told, do you know how much I paid for you? ask any East African who has been beaten by her husband, some of the things they've said. And I'm not saying this to shame our dowry was Western culture has just messed up Africa. It's just dowry was not meant to show that women were property. And that's why I don't like it when white people talk about my culture. Dowry was a form of appreciation for the fact that a woman was labor. When she left the home, she was labor. Men had their work. Men went to war. Women stayed home and took care of the home. There were rules of war. And I'm not saying the world is perfect, it was perfect then. I'm just saying there's a way in which when you make one culture superior to another and you brainwash people into thinking your culture is better than you leave, you're intentionally creating a situation where there are people who will be very misplaced by this new culture that doesn't fit into the system that existed before you came in. I'm talking to former colonizers, current colonizers, because neocolonialism is alive and well, because you just messed us up. I wish we had just stayed praying on Mount Kirinyaga. Like, I wish we were never colonized. God. Because the education system had a way of taking care of the slow kids and the slow eaters, and we would be assigned tasks, and I would have been, I don't know, a medicine woman or a healer, and I would have had a sense of purpose which wasn't tied to how much money I make or the sort of husband I land. And polygamy, this thing you guys now call polyamory, poly whatever, it was to protect women, and it was to protect them in a way that I guess also enabled the patriarchy, because you know who women needed to be protected from? Men. It's always been them. And I know someone is going to go like, oh, but what about the rates of man on man? I mean, like there's woman on man violence. And I'm like, yeah, there's man on man violence. Men are also supposed to be scared of men. Like, when you're afraid of who is going to show up at the corner in the middle of the night as a man, it's not usually a woman. Well, now I guess it should be because of the nonsense you guys are putting us through. And you guys are pushing us. You're closer and closer to the edge, because even the way news is reported, woman seeks revenge on husband after he recruited men to rape her and taped it. You like, men have some audacity. They need to tell me where they buy it from, because they buy it in wholesale. So, ladies, I want to invite you to try something. I'm going to keep this short because it's worked for me. I went through a breakup all of 6 or 7 months ago. This is my first winter since the breakup alone. My mental health is doing incredibly well because I've invested in therapy. I've invested in my female friendships. You guys have seen me on social media. I go for sleepovers for a week. I let people show me love because I struggle to accept love. I'm used to giving. So I'm surrounded by myself with women who are not just any women, not riffraff. Women who give love, who are generous, who are kind like me, who have a big heart, who have needed to have a tough exterior, every Black woman I know, to keep the abusive, self-centered, selfish people away. This time I say people because it's both men and women who just like to use people and take advantage of their kindness and then turn us this way. In Criminal Minds, there's an episode that starts and there's a quote, "Even demons tremble when good men go to war." Ladies, if you're tired of finding yourself in weird situations with men, asking yourself, what are we? Or you guys did a thing and now you're not friends anymore because you crossed a line. And by the way, so far, I think 4 women have gotten in touch with me about this. I'm going to stop telling people I just do health coaching. I'm going to start calling myself a life coach. I hate it. I hate that title. I hate the thought of giving people advice like I have done life successfully. So, because everyone's definition of success should be just based on their personal values. What is your ikigai? What's your life purpose? Why are you on this earth? This is going to stay under 22 minutes. But hear me out. Women, I dare you. After you've broken up with that man who is sapping your energy like a freaking blue gum tree does water, and dries up rivers. After you've done that, after you've cut him off, keep him off. Block him. Don't talk to him. Don't let him talk you back into taking him back. Just do that fast. P.S. I am not addressing women who have young children or are in abusive relationships, because when you are in an abusive relationship, financially, sexually, or physically abusive relationship, even emotionally abusive, physically abusive, just any abusive relationship, you have to plan an exit. You don't wake up and go. And we need to stop being the sorts of women. I understand why men would do it. I have no faith in them. We need to stop being the sorts of women who ask other women why you stayed. Go read a psychology book. Go for therapy. In fact, while you're in therapy, because you're just a human being or you identify as a Christian, teach yourself how to be all things for all people, like Paul told us to do. Paul was a single man. That's why I can refer to him. Jesus was a feminist. Notice the men I am mentioning, not men who harm women, which is why I speak disparagingly about Abraham, Adam, David, Solomon, and they're listed in the Hall of Fame. But even me, I have told Jesus, I have a problem with these men. I have a problem with a man who criticizes David, criticizes his sons for avenging their sister's rape. When Tamar was raped, by the way, I love the way her brothers dealt with it. And I watched a video today on social media where Maya Angelou, beloved Maya Angelou, who said, believe people the first time they show you who they are. Believe people. Don't believe their words. If a man is telling you, I love you, but he's the reason why you're on anti-anxiety medication is still being taken 6 months after you had said you're going to win yourself off, believe people when they show you, not tell you. You guys think the serpent on the tree is the one we were supposed to be afraid of. In Swahili, we say kikulacho kingoni mwako. The thing that eats you is the one that's in your cloth. That's referring to the bugs that get into our clothes, like bed bugs. I've not had bed bugs, thank God. I knock on wood. But the thing that destroys you, like unforgiveness. And I know this because when I was sexually assaulted in 2018 by someone who groomed me for a year, a brother in church. And the previous year, I had non-consensual sex, aka I had been raped by a friend. I remember the bitterness I had. Oh, and by the way, I know after I have just said that, there's a man who's going to say, oh, no wonder she is so bitter and angry and single. She was hurt by a man. You're not a good one. Because you have just victim blamed. Instead of thinking, oh my God, this man was horrible. Am I like this man? Am I friends with a man like this? Someone recently told me, my friends are not rapists. And I was like, you're the wrong person to give feedback on that. Ask the women in their lives, their sisters' friends, their younger cousins, their nieces, their nephews, the younger ones. Ask the children in their care, in the presence of a psychologist, or rather have the psychologist interview this child while they're drawing or tracing and then see. Because you men struggle to hold a mirror up to yourselves. And you're the first to say, I would never go for therapy. I remember a man telling me, I'd rather read a book. Munakwanga hivyo, we know this is how you are. Some of us have accepted and moved on. It's already 24 minutes. I lied. But this bears saying, women, cut off the men. All these men who you're saying are your friends, the ones you're listening to when they have problems, the ones who tell you, oh gosh, I'm tired, I don't feel like cooking, the ones who invite you to their house to cook for them, the ones who go shopping with you to help them pick out a nice shirt. That's labor. You see, although that's labor. Look for reciprocity. When you're in a crisis, can you call this man and expect him to keep you safe without the expectation of sex? Or a version of a sexual favor? Will he help you? Will he let you sleep in his bed while he sleeps on the floor or in another house because he knows you've been through shit and you, pardon me, and you're not safe? Will he show you, oh, this is the key, do you feel safe? Does he ask you whether you feel safe when he's around? Those are the only men I have the stomach for, by the way. The sorts of men who I tell, yeah, I did have sex with you, but it was coercive. You asked and asked and asked and asked, and eventually I said yes, because I was like, you know what? If I don't say yes and I'm here in his house, or if I don't say yes and he owes me that money, which is half my rent, then because people keep hating on prostitutes and strippers, and I hate it when women hate on them, and I'm like, men have never been the prize. Girls, coochie is just currency. Like, really read your Bible with nuance. It's just currency. You see women like Esther going to save the whole Jewish tribe, ancient Israel, not this nonsense one that is trying to lie to us and rewrite history. When ancient Israel was at threat of being completely destroyed because some man felt his tribe was more superior to them. Is it Naaman? Haman. And so Queen Esther goes to the king, and she's not supposed to go to the king without him summoning her. So she takes a risk after fasting 3 days, and she goes, and the king, she has favor with him because she's been fasting and praying. And then the king asks for whatever you will want. No, Salome is the one who was told even half of my kingdom, because she danced in a way that the king felt, Akio, this girl was like his daughter and his niece at the same time. It's a messed up. When you read the Bible, you understand how messed up men are. And I feel like God has been telling us from the beginning, men will blame shift. We refuse to listen because you have feelings for him. What did your feelings ever do to you? Look at what feelings did to Eve and Sarah and Hagar. And no, Hagar is not counted there. She's a victim because she was a domestic labor. She was a slave. She had no choice. So Abraham is actually essentially a rapist. Father Abraham, who you guys just love to quote left, right, and center. And then you're expecting us to be like the Proverbs 31 woman, waking up early in the morning to cook for you and clean for you, and yet you're the sort of man who asks, babe, where are my socks? And leaves your dirty clothes on the floor. Please, don't. No patriarchy talk without patriarchy money and patriarchy behavior, which is, my grandfather didn't even let me wash his socks. Then a man will come here and ask me to serve him food because, my mom serves me. I am neither your mother nor your wife. Neither will I ever be. Step. Go, leave. And forever hold your peace. Ladies, when you cut off men and you surround yourself, whenever I teach habit change, I teach habit stacking. Let me give you this for free. Then you will pay me for my services, because women always pay me for my services. The only men I trust to pay me for my services are gay men, without withholding and without expecting sexual favors. Gay men only. So I teach habit stacking, meaning if you want to stop eating potato chips because you eat too many, start by reducing how much you eat. Don't bring the whole bag with you to the kitchen. I learned this from my nutrition coach, Dr. Alice Ndong, back in 2012. I used to take my lunch breaks in her office being coached. I was 25. I don't know what 25-year-olds are doing right now, but look for a mentor. Look for an auntie like me who will tell you, ninja zain-ish. They're not. They're not. I am where I am because of the women in my life. I do acknowledge my uncles, my late grandfather, but the women were consistent. Even my beloved grandfather wasn't. Now we're getting into the 30th minute. So if you're removing these men, you need to replace them with something. Female friends. Women don't need sex. We need intimacy. You see, during ovulation, that's your body trying to betray you into getting pregnant. Do not listen. Your ovaries are tingling and twerking left, right, and center. Don't listen. And this is why. Look for a single mom friend of yours. That's it. Just visit her, talk to her, tell her to be real with you about how single motherhood is. I swear, your vagina will dry up so quickly when you have to help take care of a single mom's kid and you watch her struggle because someone got her pregnant either to trap her or because to him, I don't like using condoms. Me, I swear, the number of times I've looked at a man and I'm like, you don't like using condoms? I recently told someone, I will no sooner flash out that pregnancy. You have no, you have no idea. Me, get a child for a man. And I know how to act like I am willing to. But the only time I would even try is if I had a written contract. And there's a man who told me, I will have a written contract for you. And I was like, oh, but you want me to get pregnant first? You're stupid. You're more stupid than you look. I said in my head. With my mouth, I kept quiet because God has taught me how to be quiet in the face of people who can kill me, slap me, or because they have citizenship in this country, get me into trouble. I'm just trying to stay alive. It's already a tough world for women. Replace men with female friends who have the same vision. They may be younger than you. They may be your age and they may be older. In fact, get all the ages. My therapist is a little younger than me. Some of my closest friends are people who are younger than me. Younger people tend to listen. They don't act like they know. Gen Zs actually listen. The end, they reason. They are not the sorts of people who say, Pasi said. I love that for them. Because even God has said in Revelation 3, he'd rather you either hot or cold. The murky waters that are, I'm an African man, it's my culture. You know, we are still Africans. Because you're using that as an excuse to cheat on your wife and call it polygamy. And then, at the same time, you want to identify as a Christian. So you're telling your girlfriend to submit. I'm like, hold up. We are not called to submit to boyfriends. And we are called to submit in the Lord. So clearly, this message didn't come from Jesus. And according to Isaiah 8:20, you are not speaking according to any light. You are an angel, a demon masquerading as an angel of light. Get thee behind me, Satan. And I love meeting religious men, including Muslims who are telling me to convert so that they can marry me. And I'm like, aren't you supposed to run that by your first wife? Secondly, if you looked at me and you thought I was beautiful and I'm not even a Muslim woman, aren't you supposed to cast your gaze to the ground? And then, if that doesn't work, aren't you supposed to fast to the point where your desire dies? And then they're like, how do you know? I'm like, I have a Muslim sister. I read, not just the Bible because I am a Christian. Get thee behind me, Satan. Also, study to show yourselves approved. Approved of what? If you're looking to be approved, to have a verification stamp on your LinkedIn or to have that stamp on the documents the education documents that you present at the German embassy to show you went to an actual university, you didn't just make up papers in River Road. You see that stamp of approval, that verification stamp, as my new man did. That stamp of study to show yourself approved is, please stop reading one book. There's a reason why the Bible has stories of rebellious women. Rebellious. When women like Deborah decide to ask the king, so paraphrasing, you want me to go to war so that the glory of Israel goes to a woman? Psh, bruh, say less. Woman, hitting a peg through a man's temple, the enemy king's temple, until it went into the ground. Me, that's the woman I want to be. You guys think Cardi B is the originator of Big Bad Wolf? Nah. I want to be the sort of woman who, like Esther, when I realize that my coochie can save lives, I will use it to save lives. I want to be the sort of woman, and beauty. Let's say beauty. Let's be polite. I want to be the sort of woman who, I don't know if I want to be like Sarah, not so much. I think I want to be more, because she centered Abraham's needs for a son and she had permission-seeking behavior. I don't like that. I like Rahab. Rahab was into real estate. I'm into real estate. I've tried business and I've failed. So when she realized, like so many women who get into sex work, that this is the one thing I have. She probably didn't have an education. She was probably a fatherless woman in a time when having a father meant you had a kinsman redeemer, someone who'd defend you, someone who'd negotiate for you when you were getting married, someone who'd negotiate your dowry. So she was probably a poor woman. She was probably a foreigner. I don't know, but she had a tough time. When you look at the story of Naomi and Boaz, Ruth and Boaz, you can see how foreigners were treated like trash. When you look at the Samaritan woman who had 5 men. And that's why I keep telling you women, read the Bible with nuance. She realized she had currency, and this was how she was going to survive. When you look at Mary Magdalene, fine, these men wound up leaving 5 demons in her. That's the only thing we focus on. Why? Because we're trying to police women's bodies. Because the very man who was a big part of the reason why she was so messed up or stigmatized, Simon, when he sees that Jesus is getting anointed by Mary Magdalene, he's thinking in his head, oh, if this man were really a prophet, he'd know what sort of woman is touching him. How did he know what sort of woman Mary Magdalene was? It wasn't rumors. If you read Ellen White, EGW, she writes about it. He was one of the stumbling blocks. And Ellen White is polite. She was a writer in the 1800s. So, and then she was an Adventist woman. So, of course, she's politely saying he was part of the reason. He knew how low she could go. He knew how far she could bend. He knew some of her magic tricks. Why? Because as a man, he'd taken advantage of her. Read Ellen White, you guys. The reason why people have a problem with Ellen White, and I especially think Adventist men have a problem with Ellen White and women like me who quote her, is because they thought of her as problematic. She was a woman who would not be put down. And how dare God use a woman as a prophet instead of a man? Because you men had been used for 400 years and hadn't gotten the job done. Ever thought about that? Look at all the problems we have in the world because of you men. War, climate issues, native tribes getting killed left, right, and center. The bison was an animal that was alive and well and thriving when the natives of America were there. I discovered that a few days ago. But when Christopher Columbus came and discovered America, and the white ones came here to the US, the ancestors of the orange man in the US, the bison reduced. And they used to use everything. I remember a joke being said, when you see turtles choking on polythene bags in the ocean, don't look at us as Africans. We all have a polythene bag full of other polythene bags and we reuse them to death. In fact, if you look at how they play football in Brazil and in Kibra and in Corogosho and in City Stadium, okay, City Stadium maybe not, let me not insult City Stadium. Everywhere I have gone where there's a slum area, Korogosho and Kibra, when kids play football, and Kajiado, it's not a slum, but it's a remote part of Kenya, like the remote parts. They play football with polythene bags that have been wrapped around and then sisal has been tied and they make a ball. We use and reuse things. We recycle. We are not wasteful. The West is wasteful. We don't throw food. We eat food that is left over until we finish it. We remake it. We eat what we had last night for breakfast the following day because we work hard. We go to the farms. We do that. That's our culture. So when you guys brought us cars and offices and industrialization, you came to show us that your thing was superior and you messed up our healthcare, our health systems, our healthcare systems, our education systems, our sense of belonging, our ikigai. We had apprenticeship, we had someone for everything. We had a blacksmith, we had a hunter, we had a gatherer, we had beans sold by this tribe and grown by that tribe, and we traded in cowrie shells. Then you brought us money. And then money made the man mad and the world just stopped. It's 38 minutes in. Women, centralize yourselves. Let me not say who to decentralize. That's like saying, giving a recommendation in the negative, and our brains don't know how to register negatives. I dare you, for the rest of the year, say no. Hey, do I come over for lunch? No. Why? I'm in the middle of something. You know what that something could be? A nap. Give yourself permission to. And then when you strengthen the muscle of no, you actually get really good at it. I promise you, as a transformed people pleaser. Last year, a time like December 25th, I was washing dishes and cooking soup, and my soup was not cooking because some man was always interfering with something I was doing in the kitchen because he couldn't figure out how to bake a turkey. A white man who has been baking turkey since, well, correction, I guess his mom used to do it for him, which is why he was struggling so much. But let me explain this. I am incredibly happy for someone who struggles with their mental health during winter. I have a space that is mine. I have dignity. I'm able to pay my rent. Do I have a buttload of money? No. Do I have a job? Not yet, but I'm applying. I wasn't able to apply before because I was living at the mercy of a man. And now that I am using my networks and talking to useful people about the things I want to accomplish, people who affirm me, people who help me find work, who some of them are men, but most of them are women. The ones who told me, if you don't get a job next week, come and stay with me, I help you get a job. Yeah, if you don't have money to send for your daughter's upkeep, it's okay. Let's revisit in January. How many men do you know who have done that for you? If you owe them money. I don't know how you were raised. I don't know what your values are. But if you're a woman and you've been watching the news or reading articles, you know this world doesn't care for us, especially if you're a black woman, especially if you're a dark black woman. So learn to love yourself and centralize yourself. Selfishly go about life with the audacity of a mediocre white or orange man. Look where he came from: 3 failed marriages, felonies, rape, and there are men who aspire to be him. So you, with all your awesomeness and your obi ocha, your clean heart, and your love for loving people for free, how much more can you accomplish if you learn to centralize yourself and start saying no and start saying yes to you and start applying for those jobs you don't feel qualified for just because statistically women don't apply when they don't meet all the criteria. Statistically, men do, and that's why they get the jobs. I have applied for things I wasn't qualified for and been called in for interviews. And you know what their worry is? I think you're overqualified. We have a feeling that we will invest in you and train you, and then you'll stay with us for a few months and someone else will pick you up, and that's just too expensive for us as a company. Some of them are honest enough to tell me that. Others will use excuses like the one I got in my rejection email today, which is, after having a second look at your CV, Matthew, they're the ones who reached out to me. After having a closer look at your CV, we feel that this would not be the best role. I know I'm overqualified. I know I am incredibly good at what I do. And I know I'm struggling because I do very well in English, not German. I'm learning German, but with ADHD brain, I cannot be forced to do anything I don't want to do. Okay, it is 42 minutes. Ladies, centralize yourself and then write me as you guys have been doing and let me know how it's doing. And if you're open to the idea, I will start a coaching session in December, January. Tell me. I think January, when you guys are doing the new month, new me, new body, new me, if you realize the whole exercising thing is not working and you're looking for a nutritionist, I'm your girl. If you're struggling with feeding your new child, if you're trying to gain or lose weight, if you're trying to build a healthy muscle, lose body fat, I'm your person. And if you just want this sort of advice and one-to-one coaching, look for me. It's a thing I do now. People are actually offering to pay me to do this for them. Monthly sessions every 2 weeks. Whomst am I to refuse? Because you know what my money does? It educates children, boys and girls, by the way. With children, I think children are sacred. I do not separate. I educate children. I feed people who need to be fed. And I don't believe in white savior. And here I'm counting myself as white because I'm in a white man's country. I believe in income generating activities and empowerment projects, including but not limited to further education. And what are you good at? Oh, you're good at cooking. Okay, can you cook for people who don't like cooking, don't have the time, and then you save them that time and then they pay you that? And then we see whether we can build that as a business model for yourself and design it in a way that suits you and your niche clientele. I'm that person. I am your coach, Sharon Ogogo, signing off.